Hello folks, this is John Glenn, known as Beardy Teal, sitting in my comfy armchair, and I have in front of me two strands of yarn, one grey, one blue, some 8-inch DPNs, and we're going to do some demonstrations that are going to help people who have either been attending my classes at Loch Ness Knitfest or the basic recordings for techniques that I said I would do for Harriet Middleton and the folk at the MRI Makers in Shetland. So I hope you enjoy them. First thing we're going to do is a tubular cast on. Now, a tubular cast on could be done in one colour or two colours. I'm setting it up here in two colours. I only need one needle. And I've put a slip stitch on the needle, which I will discard later. The colour that I want as my dominant colour, or the one at the front of my two colour brioche, or at the front of my double knitting, I'm putting on my index finger, and I'm putting the other one over my thumb. I'm putting my finger on top of the slip knot that I've made because I don't want it to move around, and we are going to cast on two stitches. So we're going to come towards me, under the grey, up through the centre, away over the blue, under the grey, one full circle, and again over the blue, under the grey, one full circle. I'm going to go down through the centre and up under the blue, and that's going to leave me two stitches in the right sequence, blue and then grey, on my needle. We'll do that again. Under the front, up through the middle, behind the back, in front of the front, one full circle, behind the back, in front of the front, one full circle, down the centre, up behind the back, to give me two more stitches, a blue then a grey. So two ways of describing it using the colours in my hands. Come forward, go under the grey and up through the centre, go behind the blue, in front of the grey, one full circle, behind the blue, in front of the grey, one full circle, go between the two strands and up behind the blue, and that gives me my two stitches. Again, running it nice and slowly, just using the words front and back and centre. Forward towards me, under the front and up the centre, behind the back, up in front of the front, one full circle, behind the back, up in front of the front, one full circle, down the centre and up under the back, and that gives me another pair of stitches. So I have my initial slip stitch and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of stitches. Let's do it one more time. So we're going under the front, up the centre, around the outside twice, down the centre and up at the back. So I now have 5 pairs of stitches on there, and I am going to do one more under the front, up the centre, around the outside once, around the outside twice, down the centre and up at the back, and that is 6 pairs of stitches. And I'm going to finish by adding, for me, one more stitch, which will be a blue stitch because I want a self edge at both ends for my brioche. So I'm going under the front, up the back, and around the outside once. And there is my blue stitch for my 2-colour brioche self edge. He says, letting it wind round the needle. That was clever. Right, so it's definitely there for me. Now, since the first thing I'm going to knit with is the blue, in that position I'm going to pin the grey, or catch the grey in my hand and turn my stitches ready to knit. And that's where I'm going to stop the cast on. Well, you know me, I never shut up when I say I'm planning to. So, what do we do next? Well, we are needing, he says, to establish this set of knitting ready for us to build on it. So we can set it up in the following way. Starting with the blue. I apologise if the lighting's not as good as it might be. I'm going to knit the blue, bring my yarn to the front of the work, slip the grey, take the yarn to the back of the work. I'm going to knit the next blue stitch. He says, missing putting the needle into it. Why is it demonstrations never do what you want when you're hoping for the best? Knit the blue, yarn to the front, slip the grey, yarn to the back. Knit the blue, yarn to the front, slip the grey, yarn to the back. Knit the blue, yarn to the front, slip the grey, yarn to the back. Knit the blue, yarn to the front, slip the grey, yarn to the back. Knit the blue, yarn to the front, slip the grey, yarn to the back, and then finishing with knit the blue, and I'm going to let that slip stitch just hang. I don't need it anymore. Now I've worked half of the stitches. We need to go back and work the grey stitches. So let's slip to the other end of the needle and we will work the grey. So we've already worked the blue, so we can slip the blue, and all of the slips that we're doing are purlwise slips. I'm going to purl the grey. Move my yarn to the back of the work, slip the blue, yarn to the front, purl the grey, yarn to the back, slip the blue, yarn to the front, purl the grey, yarn to the back, slip the blue, yarn to the front, purl the grey, yarn to the back, slip the blue, yarn to the front, he says, slip the grey, yarn to the back. Why did I slip the grey? That was stupid. Forgetting which round I'm on. Or which pass I'm on. I'm on the second pass. So I am purling the greys. Don't let me away with that. Purl the grey, yarn to the back, slip the blue, which, that was good, it wasn't mounted properly, fix it, yarn to the front, purl the grey, and we're at the last stitch, yarn to the back. Do we need the yarn to go to the back? The answer is no, we don't. It can stay where it is on the last stitch, and slip the last stitch. Now, that's half of the setup done, and we have now effectively worked one row of double knitting because we have knitted all the blues on this side and we have purled all of the greys. If we turn this work around, to maintain stocking stitch in each colour, we have to purl the blues this time. So let's do that. I'm going to purl the blue, move the yarn to the back, slip the grey, bring the yarn to the front. Purl the blue, take the yarn to the back, slip the grey, bring the yarn to the front. Purl the blue, yarn to the back, slip the grey, yarn to the front. Purl the blue, yarn to the back, slip the grey, yarn to the front. Purl the blue, yarn to the back, slip the grey, yarn to the front. Purl the blue, yarn to the back, slip the grey, yarn to the front. Last stitch, I'm going to purl the blue. Now I've got a working yarn at each end which tells me I've completed one pass of a side of the work, so I need to slide to the other end of the needle and work the grey. This time the grey stitches are showing that they would be knitted to maintain stocking stitch on this side, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to slip the blue and I'm going to knit the grey. Bring my yarn forward, slip the blue, take my yarn back and knit the grey. Bring my yarn forward, slip the blue, take the yarn back, knit the grey. Yarn forward, slip the blue, yarn back, knit the grey. Yarn forward, slip the blue, yarn back, knit the grey. Yarn forward, slip the blue, yarn back, knit the grey, and the last stitch I'm simply going to slip. And if I look at my work, I have perfect grey stocking stitch on this side of the work, and I have absolutely perfect blue stocking stitch on the other side of the work. And I have just completed my second full row. Now that is 2 rows of double knitting, and that gives me on that particular bind, that particular cast on, enough stretch to support brioche working, and it gives me a tubular cast on which is nice and versatile, nice and stretchy, that I'm not going to get a horrid tight band around the top cuff of my sock, or the forehead line of no confidence from a hat band, and I'm relatively happy with that. So that finishes your tubular cast on and 2 rows of double knitting as a setup.